All right, so little message here that's just listening to a few things, and one of the things that I can point out is going to tie into a few things I was talking about in the previous video when it comes down to complaining and taking accountability, where I'll just quickly mention it here and then just tie into what it is that I want to say. Like I said, you know, if you realize that you are the universe, because universe is one verse, one song, one beautiful song that you can emit, or you could emit a distorted song. But realizing that whatever you think the universe is out there, all right, is basically you, a projection of you, and because it's not a place that you're in, it's a projection, okay? And when we talk about universe, that's why you hear it's always you versus you. Even in like bodybuilding shit, I've always seen posts and meme, it's always you versus you, because it comes down to you at the end of the day. Whenever you complain about somebody or something else, you totally gave your power away. Because whatever it is that you want to consider the universe, you are consenting to the fact that you're affected by people, places, or things outside of you creating your reality. Meaning like this: if I realize I'm God and I take accountability for my actions, I just put out a different message out to the universe. I'm now emitting a certain frequency to attract a certain level of vibration back. That, again, your vibe attracts your tribe. That's how I look at it, okay? But if you emit a frequency of pointing fingers and blaming other people, you are not God. And I've heard certain people talk about how they are God. But again, do you understand what that is? You get what I'm saying? If you're talking about you are God, then you should realize that God giveth and God taketh. Even want to use the religious connotation of what God means. God is authority. Conduct. How do you conduct yourself? You see, everything here in this realm relies on you being trained to some extent. Mental training. You get physically trained in the gym. You get trained when you're at work. They give you're under a training program. It's always train, right? But the train needs a conductor. And that's why they say, how do you conduct yourself in society? Okay? Are you on the right track? Okay? Did you come off track? Did you get detoured? Did you veer off track? You know what I'm saying? Are you on the right path that favors you to some extent? Because this is the only reason I'm mentioning this, because if I blame other people, I give my power away, saying that they have control of how I live, how my reality is. Where if I'm God, I'm like an unmovable object. I'm not moved by stupid shit outside of myself, right? Including the things that we observe out here that, like I mentioned in my previous video, when you hear a video, you're listening to people's perspectives. That's all you're doing. Now, that's why I said take the information. There's a lot of good info out there. A lot of great info. But when it comes down to how you process this information, it's not to take the information that you listen to outside of yourself. It's about you processing it and see what you got out of it. You hear what I'm saying? Like think about what it is that you read and what did you truly get out of it, and what do you have to do with it? You know, like what do you have to do? What's in it for you? The reason I say this is like if I go outer space, if you could go outer space and I collect moon rocks, I have to bring it back to Earth and I have to study the moon rock. I have to study the elements in the rocks, right? Bring it to the laboratory. When you listen to information, it's information. You're consuming information. And it could be a wealth of information, or it could just be empty calories, right? Junk food. And we can consider this even negative drama, right? Negative, we look at that as feminine energy, magnetism, attractive. That's why women are attractive. But then we look at negative, you can look at it from the bad, good and bad. If you want to categorize good and bad, either way, it's still doing what it's doing. It's attractive. Because people can be attracted to negative energy in a form of magnetism, feminine energy, or they can be attracted to drama, right? Because some people feed into drama. They get attracted to drama. So it doesn't matter. That's why I said you have to see what you got out of it and what perspective do you look at it from. The sun is an electrical type of energy. It's a push-out, masculine energy. The moon would be considered more magnetic, right? The sun is the giver of life. However, if I have a plant and I'm trying to propagate a plant and I'm trying to get some roots established so that it can become its own root system, its own individual plant, right? And not rely on the umbilical cord, like, you know, because sometimes you may get a runner from a plant, but it's not relying on the nutrition from the mom anymore. Now it's its own individual. Then what do? You don't put it in direct sunlight to develop a root system, right? You want to put it in indirect sunlight. You want to keep it moist. You got to keep it under different conditions than you do the mother plant, right? Because it doesn't have a stability, a stable ground, which is why when you want to categorize diseases, there's no such thing as diseases, it's just instability. So when you look at protein, because look, the sun, right, is the building blocks of life. It's like the giver of life, right? You depend on nitrogen for a plant to grow. That's the nitrogen side of chemistry. You got the alkaline side, which is the feminine side, right? That would be considered the carbon side of chemistry. So you see how now you wouldn't put a plant that doesn't have an established root system outside, because the plant's going to wilt and most likely die. You know, it's not able to take that energy from the sun. So you would give it the different type of fuel, the carbon side of chemistry. When you're in a diseased state, which it's just an idea, then why would you introduce protein into your system? Because I hear a lot of people, because I work with in this field, you get what I'm saying? And a lot of people put faith in their doctors, and doctors really don't know shit. You get what I'm saying? But to that person, the doctor is everything. And that's why I hear Bob Proctor's video, and it says to one individual, another person may just be one person, right? But to another individual, that person could be the world, right? That's why I'm so grateful for even the channel I have. Look, I don't have a huge channel yet, but the people who listen to my videos, I've got people who have told me that they've been watching me since day one. You know how grateful I am for that? See, I don't consider those people one individual. You get what I'm saying? Because it's also the quality of people that could be watching your videos. You see, I could watch a person with a huge following, but the majority of them are just fans. It's just, they're not really students. And I'm not saying I'm teaching you anything, but in actuality, when you sit as a student, then you're opening yourself up for information. If you're sitting there as a know-it-all, think about this though. You already got the mental chatter in your mind. You're hearing, but you're not really listening because you're not silent. And the silence starts from the mind first. Because look at the word silent and listen. They're interchangeable. Just like heart and earth, right? So if you're sitting there as a know-it-all, then you're already closed-minded. You're already trying to debate. So that's why I say, like, if I'm going to listen to a video, I'm going to listen to it. Now, I'm going to put out my information online as to my perspective and what I got out of it. And this is a wealth of information for those who can hear it or listen to it. For those who can hear the information. Because sometimes it would say you have ears to see and eyes to hear and the ears to see. Right? Because see, when you're listening, you're creating mental pictures in your mind, but you have to see the ultimate form of being detoxing. It's also keeping a clear mind to know, and you know yourself, like what programs do you have? What, like if I say a word, what's the first picture that comes into your mind? You get what I'm saying? Is this something that's serving you, or is it something that's not? Because at the end of the day, let's say, for example, if let's say you have a partner and they're blaming you for a bunch of their issues, right? That person is literally giving you all their power. They're giving you all their power. They're literally consenting to the fact that you create their reality. Like you're in charge of how they feel, what they do, and whatnot. And you know, you basically, you could take all that power. You could steal all that power like a vampire. But you're unaware that you're actually stealing all that power. That's the whole thing. Right? Because you can let that person be aware of the fact that if I'm going to do anything in this realm, I have to think about it first. But if I'm aware of what's on my mind, then I'm unaware of what I'm actually creating. So let's talk about this. Because I also heard from some information. I've been hearing a lot, and it's a lot of good information. You know what I'm saying? But when you start categorizing things like eating animals is not spiritual, right? Or fighting is not spiritual. See, there's different levels, or it's not what you're doing, but it basically here is how you're doing it. If I'm doing MMA, all right, and I'm balanced in mind, body, and spirit, let's say, like you always hear that's like, you know, the balance. I'm a balanced mixed martial artist, okay? There's a lot of spirituality to it. When you look at like different arts, like Taekwondo, right? You could look at karate, whatever it may be. It requires a certain level of discipline, a certain level of balance. You use this for defense and discipline, never for attack, right? So when you're doing things spiritually, it should be done the exact same thing. You just have a certain way of being where you're disciplined and you're doing things for defense, knowing that you're in a realm that still has parasites to some extent. But everything is needed in this realm of reality, right? So here's how I look at this, okay? If you look at, because history to me doesn't, I don't give a fuck about history because it doesn't exist. Like my history was told to me the moment I came out the womb, and this is what I've been told. I have no accounts, because see, everything here is ran on studies, and you know, if you want to know something, right, and somebody's debating something to you, they have to pull out a fucking a plethora of notes showing you clinical studies and scientific proof for you to validate your point, right? So everything's ran on proofs and points, but there's so many things that we observe as far as our history that we don't have proofs and points. It's just still unknown, like the pyramids of Giza, like the fucking mud floods and all this shit. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. All the megaliths, monolith, the fucking, you know, the aliens, a lot of information that still can't be proven till this day. But you still buy it, right? So I'm supposed to basically say that, okay, it's only valid if I can have scientific proof or anything like that, right? Well, I mean, there's no proof of my history, right? There's no proof. And I don't see it, so I don't need to buy anything about what I've been told about history. But if you want to study the different theories of history, you'll see that people used to kill the animals, right? And they used to pray over the animal. This concept of prayer is basically transmuting the energy. So this animal, okay, is a lower level species than you are. It's lower as far as like the evolutionary scale goes, right? So the fact that it was killed by you, all right, it would gladly want to be eaten by you, okay? You ever heard people say that there's spirits that are basically trapped in limbo, and then you can guide them through the death process for them to move on and not be tormented in between states, right? It's the same thing. You got an animal. You're transmuting this energy. They become you. That's why they say you are what you eat, or what you eat becomes you. So if you eat this animal is now higher on its evolutionary scale because it's living through you. You ever seen parents that have children? You raise a child and they somehow want to live through their children because of certain regrets or anything like that they've had in their life. You always hear some parents or some you know, they live vicariously through their children, you know. But think about this though. If I'm raising my child, all right, they're also absorbing all of my programs, okay? So that's why it's important to let them make decisions, right? You can just observe, make sure that they're not going to hurt themselves, but observe, let them make decisions. Get them accustomed to making decisions, not getting trained by you to always let somebody else think for them or make decisions for them, okay? So look at the Star Wars, the Sith. You always hear that the apprentice kills the master when it comes down to the dark side of the Force. So now he kills the master and he takes over the empire. But at the end of the day, this empire is basically your projects. Anything you're doing here in life is you. So if I'm gardening, I am the garden. The garden is like my altar. But I'm gardening and I am the garden, right? Because it's my projects and I'm doing it with love. So let's say, for example, you want to use this example of the Sith. They kill their master. But do you not think that the master now went from an older body into the newer, younger body and is now running that empire through that individual? So when you start to look at devouring the gods, Why do you devour the gods? Right? Do you get devoured, or do you do the devouring? Why do you devour the gods? Why do you devour the symbol of power that's all hidden within you, that's just dormant within you? Because these things are dormant. You don't know them. You just know about the external Christ. I love Jesus Christ. I really do. Right? But I look at Jesus Christ in a totally different way than a religious person does. Because what can God do that you can't? Ask a religious person that. So if God giveth, God taketh, right? So everything out here is just ideas. You're being sold ideas all the time. But I can kill an idea, or I can entertain an idea. I can kill you if I want to without having to physically harm you. You would cease to exist in my mind. And so much so, they say, time heals everything. It would be so much so to the point that you'd probably be replaced with something else in my mind, and I may even forget your name, because it's happened to me. There's people that I really don't care about, or that I've actually learned from and accepted the past and let it go. Because if I'm holding on to something, then I still have them in my heart, and that's weighing me down to some extent. So if I let go of things that are not serving me, then I can be light as a feather. But complaining, for example, about anything, if you want to look at it from the religious, education, I'm talking about government, I'm talking about AI or technology, whatever it may be, you're giving your power away to that. That's what you're doing. Instead, you take the responsibility in your hands and say, well, I'm in a realm that I'm creating every day with my thoughts. I can use this to my advantage to help me evolve, right? Because I know I'm not the body, I'm not a human. So I can utilize all these things as tools, and then now I can actually have these things work for me. Because if I'm aware, I'm also aware of the fact that if I created my unstable, unfavorable environment, I'm now aware that I can create a favorable one now. But if I'm giving my power away complaining, then I'm unaware that I can create a better future for myself, or a better now moment for myself. Even now is the most powerful one. You got the past. The past doesn't exist, and tomorrow only depends on what you're doing now anyway. So it's a potential, infinite potential, right? We look at a timeline. They say that, because I heard this too. They say that if you eat the animal, then the animal eats you in return. And we still look at it like if it was on a timeline, like eventually this will happen. This is happening simultaneously. The moment you eat the animal from the supermarket, and you're not even aware of how the animal died or whatnot, and you're consuming the animal in that way, then of course, let's say the animal died in a brutal way. This is why people walk around with stresses and anxieties and all these type of things. And it's because they're actually consuming those emotions and they don't know what they're eating. That's called mindlessly eating, like zombies. And this is why they say, like, you could be woke, or you could be aware, or you could be a mindless eater. But if you're aware that you're the most intelligent species on the planet, then why eat like a peasant? You hear what I'm saying? And if you do eat, let's say, those animals, then you have the power to transmute energy. You can't destroy energy, but you could transfer it and transmute it. And like I've made videos in the past about redefining the meaning of everything in your life. You hear what I'm saying? But if you let's say have a condition where you're in a diseased state, or you have instability, then you can't handle that kind of power. Then you would go with a much softer, feminine energy, such as the carbon side of chemistry, to heal you. Because don't you go into the shadow to heal and accept, right? So if you're going to go to war, you need to have a strong army. You need to be a strong general. You need to have good weapons. You need to have resources, right? You don't just go into battle and get fucked up because you're going in there fucking like handicapped. That's how it is in life. Two people had sex, now you're in the fight for your life. But yeah, the animal is consuming you. So if you're buying anything from the supermarket, the whole concept of prayer came from this, but you don't give your power away to a deity to bless your food. Because you see, this is the thing. Oh, but I'm not God. That's blasphemy. How can I bless my food? But when your child goes out of the house, don't you say, God bless you, child, and stuff like that. You don't bless your child when they come out, but you don't even do it with intent. You're doing it. It's like empty words. Oh yeah, I love you, bless you. have a good day. And that's it. You don't even think about it. There's no emotion behind it. There's no passion behind it. There's no concentration or focus behind you blessing that individual, right? You bring water to a church, to a priest to bless it for you. You could do that. If you have water, you bless and transmute that water yourself. And like I made the example in my previous video of Marina Abramovich, when you drink the water, that water will hydrate you and it will be programmed into your cells to hydrate you on a deeper cellular level, but you're structuring the water with a certain memory depending on what's on your mind at that moment. Is it power? You're in the position of God. So as you're drinking it, you're transmuting every little drop of water that you're drinking from that glass. That's you sending out a powerful signal that you are God. It's not just saying every day, I'm God, I'm God, I'm God, but you don't believe it. That's like somebody being broke and every day saying, I'm rich, I'm abundant, and nothing changes because you truly don't even believe it. But you put things into practice. When you touch yourself, you massage yourself, you want to look younger, you want to look better, right? You're programming yourself. When you do say it, your words actually hold more power. They hold more water. So that's why, like, you know, anything, like, here's the thing, I'm gardening, right? If I'm gardening, and, you know, because I'm also hearing that you should eat fruits. You live off the land, right? But if you're eating fruits, you're in an environment that's like Earth. You got carnivores and you got vegans. The carnivorous insects are the ones that you want in your garden. You know that? Those are the ones you want in your garden because they actually eat the vegan insects that are eating your plants that are supposed to be bearing fruit for you. So do you see how you're doing it for ethical reasons, but at the end of the day, to some extent, you're really contradicting yourself if you go on a deeper layer? So that's why it's not good to judge or demonize shit, because if you look at it from a deeper layer, you're actually contradicting yourself and you end up fucking yourself to some extent. So don't demonize shit. Everything's needed. That's why, you know what? When I have unbeneficial insects in my garden, all right, I don't touch them. I just wait till the beneficial ones come in because I'm inviting. It's like I'm growing my ecosystem. The bigger the ecosystem, then the bigger my universe. The more expansive it is, the more information, the more gases and more information is in the air and the soil and in all aspects of the game. There's just more information. The ones that are imbalanced, then yeah, as God, I take balance. Like the Japanese beetles. But at the end of the day, whatever the Japanese beetles were, even if they were lab made, right? They are still transmuting into a higher evolutionary scale the moment that I decide to go outside without chemicals, just take a cup of soap and throwing them all in there. Okay? But that's basically me taking balance in my universe since I want it to continue. But anyway, that's all I had for this video. I appreciate if you made it this far, and whoever listens to my videos, I highly appreciate you. I send you much love and, you know, positive energy, much abundance and love to you. I really, really do thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm very, very grateful for you. I'm grateful for my life, this channel. You know, I look at my garden. I'm grateful for everything. I'm grateful for, I don't know, little face of where he wants my attention now. So, we'll talk soon.